know Anne wants to come in.
To Mr. Pickavance. Can I ask how many of your apprentices were on a train to gain scheme?
I'm not sure I could answer that.
Would you come back to us with the information?
So I wonder if you could just clarify a question that you answered about the number of 16 to 18-year-olds employed in the company. I take it that's not the same as the number of people who have then gone on to the apprenticeship system. Could you tell me how many 16 to 18s of that number have actually gone on to the apprenticeship system?
Can I come back to you with that?
Could you give us a written clarification?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I note from the submission, Mr Pickavance, that you made to the committee that you said in 2012 you're going to train 15,000 new apprentices, which I calculate from the basis of 132,000 employees is about 11% of your total employees. Could you confirm to me, just for comparison purposes for the committee, I think it would be very helpful for us to just contrast, what percentage of your employees in your Scottish shops are going through an apprenticeship system which is being approved by the Scottish Qualification Authority?
It's roughly comparable, I think.
Yeah, we apply this system across the board, so it'll be very similar.
So it's Scotland, Ireland, Scotland, Wales and
England. And you therefore, can I then take it that Elmfield is then registered with the Scottish Qualification Authority?
Yeah.
Right, okay. And do you then provide what would be called an apprenticeship as certified by the SQA, which is generally to a higher standard? Would that be right?
Yes, it is, yeah. It is
yes.
SQA, yeah.
And do you receive government funding from the Scottish Government for that scheme?
From SDS.
Can you provide us with figures of how much money you provided?
Yeah.
So that we can see the number of people that go through and which qualifications they receive. I think that would be very helpful.
We only receive funding for people, I think, up to the age of 19.
Right.
But there are a significant number of other people either doing QCF qualifications.
It was, I think, be helpful, Chair, if you could break that down by age categories, 16 to 18, 19 to 24 and 25 plus in the same way as we have for this,
yep.
And how much money you receive from the Scottish Government for each of those people.
Yeah, that's fine.
That would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Are you okay, Brian? Can I bring in Julie Elliott?
Thank you, Chair. Mr Syddall, what proportion of the government funding that you receive goes directly into training as opposed to your overheads, costs, etc.?
About 50%.
About 50%?
Yeah. It depends really on the contract, and it depends on your definition of what front line is. So if you define, let's say...
I didn't mention front line, I said into training.
Yeah, about 50%, yeah.
Right. And last year, Elmfield made pre-tax profits of £12 million. How much of your income from the government as opposed to from your employers? Sorry, how much of the... Comes from the government? How much of that 12 million was government money as opposed to money coming from
It was all government money.
It was all government money?
Yeah.
Could I just come in here? I believe that amounted to 36% your profit.
Yeah, in 29210.
29210.
Yeah. Could I expand on that?
Have you any indication of what
yeah.
subsequent years are going to be?
Yeah. Well, this year's operating margin is 13.8%. And can I explain why? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That was the reason for asking.
Right. Okay. Our Elmfield exclusively deals with large employers. That's our business model. We support a number of the UK's largest employers delivering apprenticeship programmes, work-based learning programmes and pre-employment programmes. There are natural efficiencies in dealing with large employers. So the easiest example probably to illustrate this is if you looked at a similar size of provider to ourselves, they normally would have an estate, offices, of around about 50, 60, 70 offices from where the staff would be accommodated and where they would deliver the training. Because of the way that our model operates, our staff are accommodated within the organisations that our frontline staff with the organisations that we work with, and we use their premises to deliver the training. So I think we've got 6 offices from which we operate, which is mainly our back office and management staff. So if you actually look at the efficiencies just within our estate model, that would amount to £7 million a year just in the lack of need for offices. We've got an incredibly close relationship with both NAS and the SFA. I mean, we've been working with either as a subcontracting partner or directly with the organisations now for a long time. And we knew that they were looking at what was a fair and appropriate rate to underpin this kind of delivery. So very closely, very transparently, and as a result of that, in 2010-11, rates were reduced for large employers by 25%. And hence and in effect then I suppose 25% of our top line, which translated down to a reduction in our operating surplus that year. So for 10-11, our numbers were 13.8% operating margin, and it will be something very similar this year. So I think, from our point of view, ultimately, that reduction in large employer rates sort of multiplied across the entire provision that the SFA underpins over the next few years will save several hundred millions of pounds. And I think it's about organisations like us developing models and working effectively with our partners that sort of demonstrated that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to work out the thrust of your argument.
Sorry.
What you're saying is that you've made large profits because of your high level of efficiency and productivity.
In 2009-10.
Now you are claiming that you are effectively passing on the benefits of that in either reduced profits or reduced charges. Is that correct?
The rates have been reduced.
The rates of what?
But by the SFA and NAS, the rates for large employer apprenticeship delivery in 2010-11, as a result of the efficiencies that we were demonstrating, partially, I think, because of the results of the efficiencies we were able to demonstrate, has been reduced by 25%. So we get paid 25% less now than we did in 2009-10. So what they did is...
I'm going to bring you in a second,
yeah, sorry.
Katie. But you're still making 13%, was it?
13.8.
13.8%. How does that compare to other companies in the same area?
It's normalised. So I think Alex, who was sat here before from, I think it's roughly similar.
Katie Clark.
Yes, I mean, you'll appreciate that this as a committee, we're very concerned about executive pay, particularly when there might be public money involved.
Yeah.
We've been told that you've received £3 million in dividends from Elmfield. Is that true?
Over the last 4 years, we've declared one dividend, which was £3 million, which equated to about 15% of the distributable profits, if you like, that we could have done. There are three things that I do when we look at the business. I mean, one of the problems I've got is I own the business. So if this was a business like Babcock, that was a PLC, or that had hundreds of shareholders...
I have to say, it sounds a very happy problem to have.
Well, but again, Mr. Chairman, I set this business up from nothing. We've now employed 750 people. The other thing that we have done is over the last 3 years, 40% of our post-tax profits have gone into what we call our social impact programmes, which have helped thousands of young people back into employment. So yes, we're entrepreneurial. Yes, I set the business up. From my point of view, from a conscience perspective, for every pound I've taken out over the last 3 or 4 years, I've put £2 back into helping other people who've not been as lucky as me.
I mean, for example, do you get a salary? Is that in the public domain? Are those figures in the public domain?
75,000 is my salary, I think. Yeah, 75,000 is my basic salary. So,
can I just bring in Brian Bindley?
Mr. Syddall, I've set up 2 companies.
Yes.
They now employ collectively 260 people. We've never got anywhere near the profit levels that you are talking about. And if I'm perfectly honest, I'd be very concerned if I did get that much profit. And it sounds to me like you became too concerned about that too. Is that the case? Because quite frankly, I think that much money made out of a business of your kind is a rip-off. How do you answer that?
Are we talking about the profit?
I'm talking about the amount of money made for the service you provide. It's a very simple question. And I employ, as I say, 260 people. Not quite the number you do, but quite a few. And I do not see, when you're a large employer of people, how you can make that sort of money. I understand how the city does, because it deals in massive sums of money, but you don't.
Well,
I want to know how you make that sort of money.
At the end of the day, the year we're talking about where that profit level was made was 2009, 2010. We didn't set the rates. Yeah.
So you're overcharged?
No, we didn't set the rates. So the rates were standardised.
You were overpaid.
Or the state was paying too much money, yeah, because they didn't.
That's what I meant.
Because it didn't recognise that there were efficiencies in this kind of delivery model. So, again, you know, from our point of view, I don't think there's many businesses out there that have put £6.5 million of its own money over the last 3 years in supporting programmes that have helped thousands of people.
I think that's great, but I don't think there's many businesses over there making a bottom line that you're making.
Well, moving forward now at 13.8%, that's normalised for the sector.
You can understand why people are suspicious, though, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I make an observation?
Yeah, please help him out.
Well, I'm not going to help him out too much because, you know, he is working with us for a couple of reasons. First of all, we started to look at this in 2007. So we started to look at the business of getting qualifications for young people in 2007. Under the then Labour administration, following the Leach report, which identified that the UK was a third division country as far as skills were concerned in world league tables, that the vast majority of people had no qualifications coming into
I
work.
understand that.
So this is really important because the then Prime Minister Gordon Brown came to Morrisons and applauded the work that we were doing in our attempt to get 100,000 people to a basic qualification, which they had left school without.
That's good.
So we set that goal. We then went to the further education sector in the UK and said, can you help us to deliver this objective? The FE sector. So I didn't go to the private sector first, I went to the FE sector. And not one single organisation in the FE sector were able to deliver against the scale and the national standard that we were looking for. And it was only in extremis, in those adverse conditions, that we then went to the private sector and said, can you help us? And the private sector, we went through a bidding process, and Elmfield won that bid. So we didn't, as an organisation, we haven't touched the contracting process.
I have no concerns, Mr. Pickavance, whatsoever with Morrisons and what you're doing. None whatsoever. But you'd be pretty surprised if you saw that sort of percentage bottom line with your business, wouldn't you?
I think that a wider observation I would make to the committee is yesterday I was speaking to the Inclusion Forum across the UK, 250 people in the audience, addressed by the Minister.
Could you just focus?
The point is that there's a whole industry which is out there, Chairman, which is directed at the garnering of government funds for the provision of training for people who are excluded from the workforce. There is a huge market because of the lack of capability of the further education sector in delivering this work. If it was capable of delivering this work, we would use them, but there is a huge market led by the G4Ss and Sercos of this world doing this work. The reason that we've worked with Elmfield is that they've done this work better than other people. Purely and simply. But the Minister yesterday talked about...
I want to bring it... We quite understand the position that Morrisons are in, and this is not a criticism of Morrisons. Indeed, I think we'd applaud your motive. Okay. But can I bring Katie Clark back in?
Sorry, I mean, it may be, Chair, that you've really dealt with it. But, I mean, the issue is, as a committee, we are concerned about how government money is spent and about executive pay. So if you could provide as much information as possible about that to the committee in writing afterwards, that would be appreciated as part of our wider look at this issue, because we need to ensure that taxpayers' money is wisely spent. But I don't think we want to and we particularly, it's not about whether Morrisons feel they're getting a good service or not. That's a different issue. We're concerned about wider issues.
I think there are two other points, if I may just add to this. The two other points are, the Minister is trying to set up a competitive market and reiterated that point yesterday. That's the way the governments apparently want this market to operate. That's the first point. The second point is, it is about results, isn't it? It is about results, payment for results. So last year, we took 1,000 NEETs as so defined, and gave them permanent employment and training. That number, I understand, would equate to £56 million worth of taxpayers' benefits, because they're not being paid benefits through the JSA system. So
I think these were points that you made in your slides, so we will have seen them. Julie, can you come back?
Moving on to a slightly different area, Mr Syddall. It's been reported that you've also founded your own awarding body, Skills First Awards Limited. How do you respond to those who may say that there's a conflict of interest arising from owning both the training provider and its awarding body?
Well, it is no different, for instance, than City and Guilds and Business, who deliver ASTA. It is no different than Edexcel and Pearson in Practice, who it is no different than, I believe, Walsall College have got an awarding body, and that Norwich College have got an awarding body, and there are other organisations. We were encouraged, certainly there was a movement of encouragement to broaden the awarding body market a few years ago, but by the government when, to bring more competition into the market. Now, I set Skills First up because I thought there was a gap in the market for a good customer-centric, employer-focused awarding body. And as a result of that is now a very successful awarding body. It deals with 30 organisations, including ourselves. So it is a competitive, out in the market business. There are no rules from Ofqual to say you can't do it. There's very robust and rigorous conflict of interest policies that we adhere to. And if the rule is, well, you can't, then we can't. But as it stands at the moment, and the other thing is from a competitive perspective, so I have to compete in the open market against City and Guilds and Pearson, etc., etc. You know, the breadth of service that organisations under common ownership can offer to our customers, it gives us at least a competitive level playing field against those other organisations. So that's why we've done it.
You've answered part of my next question. I mean, yes, you're quite right. There are other people doing this in the marketplace, in the providers. But you set this up very early on after your company set up. Why did you feel?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
It was quite early.
No, company's been going for the best part of 10 years, and I think Skills First was set up about 3 years ago, so it's 7 years in.
I'd say that was quite early on.
Oh God! Not when you've been running. Not when you've been running it for 10 years. It's not.
Right. Well, why did you feel it was really important? Was it just that there weren't companies doing what you needed?
Well, as an entrepreneur, I thought there was a niche in the market for to create a business.
You felt you could make money out of setting up this company.
Yeah.
And does Elmfield work with any other awarding body other than Skills First Awards Limited?
We do work with Edexcel.
Edexcel,
Yeah.
And what kind of percentage of your work is with Edexcel and with Skills?
We do. I won't quote exactly, but it's quite a lot work with Edexcel at the moment. I'll let you know exactly, but it's a reasonably significant percentage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Could I just ask, I mean, as Elmfield, you own Elmfield, presumably you contract with Skills First to do the accreditation.
Mm-hmm.
What is the size of the contract?
We'll probably spend about, and again, I'll get you the exact figure if you want, but roughly about £2 million a year.
Sorry?
About £2 million a year.
So 2 million, so your one company pays 2 million to the other company,
Mm-hmm.
and you own both.
But it's no different than City and Guilds or Edexcel or...
No,
Yeah.
I
One
agree
rule for
that
one,
there are
yeah.
other parallels within the industry.
Yeah.
Can I bring in Anne McKechnie?
Just a point, if I could clarify with you, Mr Syddall. I understand that your initial allocation from the Skills Funding Agency was some £20 million, and this has increased to £40 million halfway through the financial year. Can I ask why the SFA doubled its allocation to your company?
Because of the volume of learners that we were putting through.
Right, so it's based on the volume rather than the actual time period in which you were passing them through? You know, obviously that's...
No, it's volume. It was because of the volume.
Volume,
Yeah.
okay. That's fine, thank you very much.
Okay.